Hello and welcome to Black Hills Business, your local source for everything going on in Rapid City. I'm Nathan Thompson and I'm happy to have with us today Dr. Kari Scovel from Scovel Psychological. How are you today?
Good, I'm great.
Great. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Doctor. And tell me just a little bit about who you are and why that you do what you do.
Okay. I have been in the Black Hills for 20 years practicing psychology. I enjoy helping other people. I can remember when I was a little girl, I always wanted to help people that were homeless, and I think that sparked some energy in me. And from there, I decided to study psychology, and I like to help people overcome challenges, recreate their life. I definitely like to see people grow and change in the manner that they want to and thrive. Mm-hmm. And hopefully create resilience in their life against stressors.
Well, you know, speaking about stressors, we're in some troubling times right now with the global pandemic that is impacting millions of people across this country, across the world. Yes. We have protests and different types of things that are going on across the nation.
Yes.
And let's put on top of that the struggles of an election year. So
right.
we're dealing with some, I would characterize it as troubling times.
Right.
Would you say that would be acceptable?
Absolutely. It has been very troubling for folks. Mm-hmm. And it's been hard. I think that people have become more depressed and anxious than normal. That has been very common. Even if you never struggled with anxiety or depression before, people are struggling more and more with it now. And I think that some people have even become suicidal, which is concerning. So,
yeah, that really is concerning. And
right.
and you know, these are tough topics to discuss, but I think
yes.
many of us deal with that. I know just from my own personal experience that here since probably mid-March or so, I've had some difficulty sleeping sometimes. My sleep schedule has been a little bit off. Mm-hmm. So some folks may think that might be a sign of depression. Is that one of the things that people may experience?
Yes. I think that when someone is depressed, they feel down, they feel not like themselves. Sometimes they have frequent crying, definitely sleep problems. Either you sleep way too much and you want to sleep all the time, or you don't sleep at all is a sign of depression. Fluctuations in energy, not having enough energy to do things, feeling lethargic. Some people have motor issues, like they just have no energy to get up and go and have that pep to get things accomplished. Very common. Weight gain or weight loss, very common. Appetite changes. Even feeling suicidal is a sign of depression.
Yeah, and suicide, that's such a troubling thing in society. People a lot of the time feel as though there's no way out other than doing that. What are some of the signs, the warning signs that maybe yourself or a friend or family member may be having those suicidal thoughts?
One of the signs is thinking about wanting to hurt themselves. Also, they could be experiencing either anxiety or depression symptoms and then getting worse with it. Thinking about having a plan to hurt themselves. That is a sure sign. Giving away things that they have, objects and or clothes, those kind of things, or talking about not having a tomorrow. All those things are sure signs, and someone should immediately then get help for that person, get them to the care center. Here in Rapid City we have a great care center, and it's free. They can go there. It's across from the police department. And it's separate from the police department, but they can absolutely get help there. It's a crisis care center intervention. They can call our office number. We have available crisis care counseling for people that need it. We have a crisis line. And also, they could go to the emergency room at Monument Health and they can be taken to Monument Behavioral Health and get help there and spend the night or a few days until they get feeling better, because we don't want anyone to hurt themselves. And it's important to get that help. And there's a national suicide line as well. So any of those resources is helpful.
Well, and you say it yourself, it's so important to get the help, either for yourself or for a friend that you may be seeing those symptoms. So we're with everything going on, mental health is always important regardless of the situations that are going on. It seems to have maybe increased a little bit, and not just with depression or suicidal thoughts, but also you mentioned anxiety.
Right.
So what is anxiety? What does that mean?
Right. Anxiety is feeling keyed up, irritable, on edge, and having persistent worry, that worry that doesn't go away. And that has been very common here, during the pandemic. People are worrying about germs, about contact with others, trace contacting, how things are going to play out. And so the worry is up. But persistent worry that you wake up with, worry that you go to bed with, and it wears you out. So those are signs. Easily fatigued, difficulty concentrating, difficulty focusing is also a sign of anxiety, and sleep problems, irritability, and also appetite changes. So all those things are very common, especially with the pandemic. If you were afraid about germs just a little bit before, that has gotten exponentially worse. And if you were concerned and had worry, just normal worry, it still has edged up for folks.
Mm-hmm. And compounding that as well, outside of the normal scope, we're in a different environment now as well. We have so many folks who are working from home or learning from home, or maybe you're retired and in a senior care facility where you can't get out of your home. I was faced with that from a work standpoint whenever the pandemic first started impacting us in the early spring. I made the decision to work from home for a while, and I tell you, that may have lasted 2 months. It was such was a difficult transition for me, as I'm sure it was for so many other folks. So let's talk about what that working from home or being inside your home, what is that like for people, and what can they do to make that more comfortable?
Absolutely. I think that working from home is challenging. If you have a lot of distractions, it's even more challenging. So reduce the distractions. Have a separate work area for yourself. Make that environment pleasant with fragrant candles or essential oils. Make it your space, away from the distraction. If you have children, have that be your workspace, and then take periodic breaks, but have that kind of a sacred place. Also have a schedule. Get up on time, like you're going to work. Get dressed. Take a shower. A lot of people were talking about being in their pajamas all day, and I understand that. But go to sleep and wake up at the same time. But I do think when you're working from home, it's essential also to get outside a few times a day. Just have a refresher. Go for a walk. Go outdoors and just enjoy the leaves, the wind blowing through the leaves. Just take some energy breaks. And but make that your sacred space, and don't lose track, of being social on some level, because it can be isolating. Whether it's being on a Zoom call with someone at work and joking around and using some humor, or after work, then increasing that social contact.
Mm-hmm. And Doctor, we've I don't know if you've seen it. I'm sure you have, because I've seen it. Speaking of that social contact, where you see all the memes that are out there about people who are on a Zoom call or working from home, but during the day they're also having a glass of wine.
Right.
That's a problem, isn't it?
It is a problem. Yeah, there has been a lot of binge drinking, and alcohol sales have been up in South Dakota. There's been more drinking than normal, and it can become kind of a crutch and a way to deal with escapism, wanting to escape. a way to deal with feelings that are uncomfortable, but it's not a good habit to have. You know, and if it gets extreme, it's good to get some mental health help, which we have people in my practice at Scovel Psychological that is very good to handle substance abuse problems. But it has gotten exponentially worse. People are relying more on extremes with the COVID, with dealing with this kind of pressure and stress every day.
You know, another thing as well, doctor, that I've heard folks talk about, and I've experienced it myself, are canceled family vacations and just changing of plans. Concerts have been canceled. I know I was scheduled to go on some flights in April of this year, and I had to delay those plans.
Right.
And that really not only had an impact on me, but also an impact on the folks I was going to go visit. Those are challenges that we all have to deal with as well. Our structure of our lives has changed.
Yes.
So how do we deal with that structure change?
I think that there's grief involved, first of all. So acknowledging the grief, acknowledging, hey, I'm having grief about the loss of this family reunion, this family vacation. I was looking forward to going to watch this concert with my best friends. And so grieving that, and then finding another way to have that social platform, still have the contact of some sort. But I think there's grief involved. Kids are grieving concerts that never happened, plays that never were produced, being with activities with friends, all those things, or sports that have never occurred. So there's been a lot of sadness and grief, and so acknowledging the grief, but then moving on to say, well, how can we be creative with this? How can we have another creative outlet? Can we go on a group hike? Can we meet outdoors? Can we, for older folks, would you be comfortable sitting on your driveway and having even someone drive by and talk in their car while you're sitting in a lawn chair? So kind of being creative with that, and know that there can be other events, plan for the future other events, because the COVID won't last forever here in town.
Well, there are a lot of things that everybody, I think, is going through. I mean, we're talking about some fairly traumatic things here. We're talking about depression. We're talking about anxiety. We're talking about grief. We're talking about unhealthy behaviors.
Right.
These are really tough times. Now, another thing that I notice as well is whenever I'm browsing on social media, I see some very hurtful things sometimes that are being said, and it just seems as though that behavior has also increased during this time of isolation, during this time of turmoil within our country. What do we do about, you're saying we need to stay in contact with each other,
right?
But what do we do about social media?
I think it's really important to take a social media break. I think it's essential, actually, because it can be very negative. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, which many people are, just that overwhelmed and depleted feeling, get off of social media for a while. Take a social media break. Spend a week not on there for a while and just get a different perspective and a new perspective. That's been very helpful for folks. Or if you're on social media and you stay on it, post something really positive and keep it positive. I think that's really important because we are bombarded with so much information at this point. And, a lot of people want to talk about COVID, and that's fine, but not focusing on it every hour of the day or, all night long with your family. I think it's important to take a COVID break too. Stop focusing on it. Do something creative and fun.
Finding something creative and fun is always a good thing. And one of the things I think that we are very lucky to have here in the Black Hills, it's just a plethora of outdoor activities.
That's right.
I've noticed myself during this time of isolation and this time of working from home that I might have put on a little bit of weight.
That's right.
I don't know if it would necessarily be considered binge eating, but I know that that's something else that is going on. So talk a little bit about some of the things that we can do for our own mental health while being safe here in the Black Hills?
Well, I mean, there's all types of activities, and I think this is a golden opportunity for folks to really pump some energy into those hobbies. Okay, so like geocaching is a great thing to do. There's wonderful geocaches here in the Black Hills. Hiking has been a wonderful, I think I've gone on like 15 hikes this summer in different areas. And so bring your kids or just bring your friend or, you know, whoever you want to bring and go outside and see that beautiful area that you haven't seen. I mean, there's the hot air balloon launch. You can go to Mount Rushmore or the Crazy Horse. There are beautiful hidden places like Spearfish Canyon has gorgeous, the Devil's Bathtub or Hippie Hole. You know, those are classic places to visit, and just beautiful running water. Custer State Park, being out there, taking some pictures, take that up as a hobby. Look at our beautiful animals in buffalo that we have, but don't get too close. Right?
You're right.
So, but I mean, there are wonderful things to do. Gardening is a big thing that people have been doing, or building a greenhouse for the winter, putting in ponds, remodeling, reorganizing their house, you know, making your space even more enjoyable. All those things are important. And if you're into reading and writing, do that. Paint, draw, create, do crafts. All those things are helpful.
You know, and thank you for talking about all of those self-help things that we can do to deal with these unprecedented, some say, times that we are in with pandemic and social unrest and politics and all of that. I think it's human nature, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's human nature to have a little bit of depression, to have a little bit of anxiety, to have a little bit of grief going on in our lives, to feel that sense of isolation going on. You've given us some great self-help tips.
Right.
But sometimes we might need a little bit more than self-help. Would you agree with that?
I do. I agree very much. And I think that that's the time that, you know, you can reach out and get help. If it's gotten extreme, like we talked a little bit about, binge drinking or binge eating has been really a problem for folks. Some of my folks that I'm working with have gained quite a bit of weight over the pandemic. Getting that back on track. Or if it's getting like your depression's getting worse, or you're feeling suicidal, or your anxiety feels totally overwhelming and you have that relentless worry that's continual, I do think that's the time to get some help and to get some assistance. So we at Scovel Psychological, we do telehealth, and so you can do it in the convenience of your own home, comfortable, have a cup of coffee and get on your telehealth meeting with a therapist. It's very convenient. You don't have to travel, and you don't have to expose yourself to any kind of elements or concerns about COVID. That has been really helpful for folks. And there's all kinds of different therapists that offer that in our office. As well as we will see people in person if they want to be seen face to face. They just have to wear a mask, and we clean a lot in our office. And we have all those good cleanliness procedures, but they can also be seen face to face. But I do think that even if it's a few sessions, that they just need a tune-up, it's helpful. Or some people want to be seen for longer periods of time and make some major changes in their lives, and they want to work on specific things, that we're definitely available for that. So,
well, you know, it is so important to take care of ourselves to the best that we can, and it's wonderful to have services, psychological services, counseling services that are available to our area. So, outside of the pandemic, outside of all of this other social strife that is going on right now in our world, what are some of the other services that you also offer? You talked about telehealth, you talked about addiction assistance. What are some of the other things that your office specializes in?
Well, we do treat trauma, so like EMDR, which is an eye movement desensitization. We do really well with that. For PTSD, we treat grief. You know, if you've lost someone in the pandemic, or if you've lost someone close to you, grief work. We do a ton of that. We treat major depression and anxiety, bipolar disorder. And if someone's seen or hearing things that are not there, we certainly treat that. A drug addiction, anyone that's having family strife, there's been a lot of pressure lately with couples. Some people are really struggling with their union. And so getting help, couples therapy and or family therapy if you're having a difficult time, with distance learning and that kind of thing with your child, or even just normal problems that teenagers have or children. We have child's therapists on staff, and we do play therapy, and we help with the family therapy, do interventions that are helpful for families. All those things we treat, and we have a variety of different people. We have 11 therapists at our office, so either psychologists, counselors, or social worker, all licensed, ready and available to help.
Well, that's a great thing, and now more than ever, I think it's so very important to take care of ourselves, and whenever we can't take care of ourselves or our loved ones,
Right.
we need to seek help. So if someone is looking for help, to seek help, how would they get in contact with you? Where are you located? What is, you spoke about the telemedicine.
Yeah.
What is the process like to become a client of yours,
Sure.
and get involved with that process?
Our offices are located at 2902 West Main Street, and so it's right across from the National Guard. And we offer both telemedicine as well as regular in-person. So we can send our forms over email or through our portal, and people don't even have to come in to be seen. So, or they can come into the office, and we certainly get them hooked into the right therapist that treat the certain difficulty they may have. So when you call the office, make sure you tell the receptionist what you're struggling with, and we will make sure that we find a good therapeutic fit for the individual.
And I hate to bring up another stress that we have right now, but there are financial concerns as well. So for your services, do you accept insurance? Is it a self-pay? How does that work?
Yeah, we accept insurance, and they get a discount if they want to pay cash and they want to do self-pay. Some people do not want to run their therapy through insurance, and that's fine with us. And we accept almost all insurance companies, and so we're readily available. And some insurance companies are actually writing off copays completely because of the pandemic. So there are some insurance companies that have been really super graceful and able to write off that copay. So that helps people financially as well right now.
Well, any type of help that we can get in these times, then that's always beneficial, whether that be mental or just having a friend to talk to.
That's really true.
Well, Dr. Scovel, thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
spending some time with us today. If you need some help with mental health or any other needs dealing with COVID, reach out to Dr. Scovel. They'll take care of you. If you'd like to be a part of Black Hills Business, you can also reach us here. You can contact Matt Tranquil at matthew.tranquil@lee.net. The information will be here at the bottom of your screen. We thank you very much for tuning in for this edition of Black Hills Business. Have a great day. My name is Nathan Thompson, and we'll see you next time.